Why do we have to wait 5 more minutes? Let's do it now. So, what's going on, everybody? There's an article out that talks about Anthony Volpe that I want to talk to you about today. And again, shout out to the chat. Shout out to the 161 family. All you're the best. Keith, Hayden, what's going on? What's going on? And there's an article. I'll get right into this, okay? Avery Peanut, what is going on? Peanut in the building, okay? Let's pull up this article right on the screen. Okay, let's see here. It's going to take 1 second to get on the screen. There it goes. All right. Yankees' view of Anthony Volpe takes a subtle shift and could open a door for competition. I don't know if you've seen this yet. I'm going to attach this down below so you can read it for yourself on your own time, in case you like to do that. But I'm just going to go over, a couple things here. Brian Cashman and company have plenty of time to surprise and pull off major and minor moves. But if the Yankees, whose largest transactions of the offseason thus far have been Yankees to bring back Trent Grisham and Ryan Yarbrough, also Tim Hill, and are trying to strike a deal with Cody Bellinger, return roughly the same set of characters from last season's ALDS losing club. Hopes for improvement would largely come internally. Which brings us to Anthony Volpe and the club's shortstop position. For several years, the club has felt Volpe, the 2019 first-round pick and one of the better prospects in the sport, had more to offer than below-average numbers on the back of his baseball card. Right? Let's keep going. Excuse me. For several years, the team has insisted that it has faith in Volpe, who has not blossomed as hoped. That faith publicly remains. Manager Aaron Boone said he expects Volpe to be a good player for us. Cashman offered, "Do I believe in Anthony Volpe?" The answer is yes. And yet this week at the winter meetings, the general manager also gently pried open a theoretical door towards a shortstop competition. The Yankees do not expect Volpe, who underwent shoulder surgery to repair a partially torn labrum, back before May. It can even be later than that. Barring a stunning upgrade such as Bo Bichette as a free agent, C.J. Abrams, or Corey Seager subjects of trade talk, the natural in-house replacement is called Jose Caballero, who impressed in 40 games after the trade deadline last season. Yes, Boone and Cashman reiterated their trust in Volpe remains. And yet Cashman, who brought up Grisham, a player who entered 2025 as an afterthought and whose play demanded that he become an everyday option when speaking about Caballero. Caballero, who's stolen 93 bases in the past 2 seasons and whose bat rose with the platform after the trade from the Rays. He slashed .266, .372, and .456, which is a plus 800 OPS in pinstripes. Could have a month plus to assert himself. You can never predict somebody's journey, always somebody's impact. Cashman said in Orlando, Florida. Volpe and Caballero are both quality players in their own right, but I still believe everything that we felt about Volpe prior to his surgery, and I'm happy with Cabby as well. So I have no idea where things will go. Okay, there's one of the openings right there. Okay, now let me pull this off. Okay, let's pull this off the screen so you can actually see my ugly face. All right. Again, I'm going to attach this down below so you can read it, okay, this article. And you give me your thoughts one way or the other. But leaving it open like that, and look, I applaud the Yankees' loyalty to their players. They're loyal to a fault, which I applaud it, but also drives people crazy sometimes too, which I get, right? Which I totally get. And there are people that represent upgrades right now. And Bo Bichette would represent an offensive upgrade, but a defensive downgrade. But his best spot would be second base. But we still have Jazz Chisholm at second base. And if they're entertaining trade offers for Jazz Chisholm as part of a due diligence thing, then it's going to lead to more speculation. And, of course, people are going to want them to replace Jazz Chisholm with probably somebody like Bo Bichette, whose best position, because of his defensive kind of lack of range, is second base. So I understand that. But we don't know what the market is for Bo Bichette, just like we don't know what the market is for a lot of these other players. Kyle Tucker. We have an idea what Cody Bellinger's market is. Yankees are standing firm at 5 years. Boris wants 7. He might get 6 from somebody. Who, I don't know. Okay? But Jose Caballero is going to start the year at shortstop. He's excelled there so far, but he's never been a full-time player. So this is why we talked about guys like Brendan Donovan and some other players. That way, or Kazuma Okamoto, when they could play a little bit more third base, which kind of takes the load off a little bit of the second base, okay, and shortstop. And provided they keep Jazz Chisholm, right? So Bo's not going to be better at defensively than Ryan McMahon. There's nobody in free agency that's going to be better than Ryan McMahon at third base. Okay. And as much as folks, I come across a lot of folks who are complaining about Ryan McMahon's contract, $16 million a year for next year, but want to replace him with somebody like Alex Bregman who's going to cost twice as much. That argument doesn't make any sense. But okay. Right? Yeah, Grisham became a full-time player with the Yankees, and he blew up, right? So, and it happens. Yes, McMahon is solid. Yes, okay, and you don't move him off third base, right? You can get somebody to platoon with him, like Okamoto hits lefties much better than he hits righties. Well, much better than McMahon, I should say. So he could be a guy that could play third base on days where they're lefties on the mound, right? And then you could bring McMahon in for later for defensive reasons, still get him in the game. So you run McMahon and still play 130 games or something like that. Anyway, your lefty pitchers are generally maybe 20% of the pitchers that we face, Yankees. So, yeah, and they've got Oswaldo Cabrera too. Okay, and I would forget Bregman too. Doesn't seem to be a fit. But this is about Volpe. And again, it looks like they're showing a willingness to be open-minded about the potential of moving on from Volpe. Now, we got a lot of guys, we've got like prospects too. They've drafted 100 shortstops in the past 5 years, right? They've got Dax Kilby, who they drafted in the first round this past year. His offensive skill set is more highly regarded than George Lombard's. And the scouts are singing his praises, and they're already saying, and scouts across baseball, including Yankees, not only Yankee scouts across Major League Baseball, saying that he could surpass George Lombard as the number 1 prospect on the team. Lombard's defensive metrics, elite. He's got range, okay, and he'd be one of these guys that can move easier to third base, I think, because of his range and his arm strength. Kind of like A-Rod, right? When A-Rod came here, he said he would take third base to give Derek Jeter shortstop, was right, and it was the right decision. A-Rod had much more arm strength. He was better suited for third base than Jeter would have been. Okay, Jeter was just a naturalized shortstop. So, but back to this, Volpe. There is a chance that Volpe may not be the guy, and they're actually being open to acknowledging that now, which they weren't before, right? So, and well, Neto for shortstop, why would the Angels trade him? Okay. And why would what are you going to get for Jazz? And like, if you're going to trade Jazz, it's got to be an upgrade at second base. And again, like I would not trade Jazz just to make room for Brendan Donovan. I would play Donovan all over the place. Like if Keenan Kemp was ready for the majors, Jeff Kent's son, he's a guy I would consider bringing up, but he's not ready yet. Okay. And they could bring in somebody else like Jorge Polanco. They bring in some other players too, but none of them are going to be offensive upgrades over Jazz Chisholm. And there's just a lot of chatter now that Jazz Chisholm might not be part of the future plans for the Yankees. I get it. Hence the trade speculation now, right? And they're willing to open. But again, they have to be blown away. Just like the Padres will have to be blown away for Mason Miller. The Rangers have to be blown away for Corey Seager and so on, right? So that's the thing. Yeah, like if Bellinger signs in the Mets, go right ahead. If the Mets give him 6 or 7 years, go right ahead, right? So, and my guess is if Bellinger leaves, then they're going to be more open to signing somebody like Bo or somebody like, one of these guys. So, Jazz, yeah, I don't know if he would accept a QO. If he has another 30 season, there's no reason to take a QO. There's no reason. So, because he would get significant money out there. But again, like, yeah, Jazz really wants to be in the Bronx, as do some other players too. So, and I understand that as well. Like Cody Bellinger has shown that he wants to be in the Bronx. But I think the Yankees are also trying. The reason why they're holding firm at 5 because they don't want to repeat a situation like DJ LeMahieu, right? Or Aaron Hicks, where they're trying to move on from the last 2 years of their contracts because they gave them extra years to get a lower AAV in their contracts, right? Okay, makes sense, but you're still stuck with that money on the back end. Now, Hicks's money's off the books now. DJ's money comes off the books after 2026, so we'll see. That's just remains to be seen. But in terms of Anthony Volpe, there are options beyond him that the Yankees have in home, but none of them are ready yet, right? Which is why it makes sense that they brought in Jose Caballero at the deadline because they knew it was probably something like this. He was kind of probably going to miss some time, Volpe. So they need somebody who could play shortstop. And they bring back somebody like Ahmed Rosario, he could platoon around the infield and outfield too as a righty bat, right? Let the Mets give Cody 6 years. Go right ahead, guys. Go right ahead, right? And again, yeah, I'm glad I'm inside too. 19. It's cold out. I was out there this morning. It was cold. Okay, and again, the only way I could see them getting Bo is if they move on from Jazz. But again, who are you going to trade Jazz to? Who are you going to get back for him? JXP, thank you for the super chat, man. I appreciate that. Trade Volpe. If Volpe has trade value, but again, the problem with Volpe trading, you're not going to get much back for him right now because he's coming off surgery. So you could also non-tender him, but they've tendered him a contract. Okay, so it is what it is. He's in the books, right, Stephen B. So yeah, and thank God they had insurance on Jacoby Ellsbury's contract because even though his contract counted towards their payroll, 22 or 23 million a year, they didn't pay out of pocket for the last 3 years of his contract because he didn't play. Insurance paid for it. So that's the benefit of getting insured contracts. But it's harder. It's getting harder to insure people's contracts right now, right? And it's just becoming more. And with these comments that they made, Aaron Boone and Brian Cashman, it makes it easier to see a path beyond Volpe now. Whereas before, it was almost frustrating to the point where they're not going to move on from this guy ever, really. So now they're showing it's okay. Maybe we've seen the best of Volpe, despite his injuries and so on. So maybe this is our guy. This is what we can expect from him. Can we get better at the position? Is the question, right? So my dream offseason. I would love for them to get Imai, Okamoto, and trade for Brendan Donovan. Those 3 pieces, right out the gates, no doubt about it. Gives them a lot of versatility, and then beef up the bullpen. Beef up the bullpen. So, yeah, Skubal, he's going to cost a lot of money, right? They have been keeping him CWA, and again, he's not trash. So, he isn't trash, CWA. Dang, appreciate you, man. But he doesn't seem to be the guy. That's different. And again, my thought process, if you can't get on the field and do better than him, then calling him trash doesn't have any credibility at all. Right? You get all these content creators, people call these people trash. None of them can get on the field and play baseball. Not even at a high school level. Right? All these tough talking people posing as real talkers. None of them can do it. God bless you, gang. Appreciate you. Well, they needed approval from Skubal, and they needed approval from Dodgers ownership. So, and maybe now they're realizing, do the Dodgers or even the Mets want to give up as much as they would have to give up, as well as an extension? Because they asked Scott Boras directly in an interview. He said the extension's up to Volpe, but very rarely does a Scott Boras contract player get be traded with a year to go and not, or very rarely does he sign an extension, right? So you couldn't do what he does, CWA. Okay. But you call him whatever you want, man. Call him whatever you want. Scooble's not Matt Chapman. No, he's not. Scooble's a he's among the best of the best left-handed pitcher in baseball. There's no denying that, man. He's the best left-handed starter in baseball. Him and Skeens are 1 and 2, right? Or 2 and 1, whatever order, 1A, 1B, right? So, but it just goes to show that maybe we shouldn't be surprised if they happen to move on from Anthony Volpe, right? We'll see. Right? Who said he was the next Jeter? CWA. School will get close to 400, I think. I would agree with that. And I think these guys know the Dodgers or the Mets. If you're going to trade for him, you're going to have to give him the extension that he wants. Because again, at the end of the day, the reason why Scott Boras wants these guys to go to free agency because there's multiple teams bidding for him next year. If you trade for him and give him an extension, then it takes all the teams out of the bidding and his ability to raise the price, right? Which Scott Boras is known for. That's why people go to him. He's the great white shark of sports agents. That's the whole point, right? And people keep saying, well, Cashman's not doing anything and blah, blah, blah. Like, there's all kinds of reporting on. Cashman doesn't leak to American reporters. He doesn't leak to Japanese reporters, especially when it comes to Scott Boras clients. And he's linked on 3 Scott Boras clients right now. Imai, Okamoto, and Bellinger. Cashman's never going to leak, right? Never. Yeah, Tommy John. Insurance companies do hate paying out. Yes, they do. Yes, they most certainly do. Well, Caballero is going to be the guy, and I'm sure Oswaldo Cabrera gets some reps around the field. Well, Caballero is going to be the guy. He's the major league leader in steals, so you definitely want to get him in there. And he took advantage of it last year when he played. So if he comes out of the gates and plays strong, then it's going to make it harder to justify sitting him for Anthony Volpe when Volpe comes back, right? No. Yeah, in New England Patriots. Yeah, I mean, yeah, they are. And again, like Edwin Diaz had 1 foot out the door, and the Dodgers took advantage of it, right? Jazz. It doesn't matter if Jazz is winning on a third. We have a third baseman. They're not going to do that. Caballero's got 4 or 5 years of control beyond this year. No, if Scuba goes to the Dodgers, he'll get deferred money. That's part of their stick. I mean, Edwin Diaz got a 3-year deal for $23 a year, and he got deferred money too. The Dodgers have $1 billion in deferred contracts already. That's the benefits of being owned by private equity. Third baseman was linked to Yankees or signed with the Cubs. Who was that? International prospect, Jonathan? Brian Siriaco. Interesting. Well, exactly, Stephen B. We don't know if they're in on Japanese players. We don't. The reporting keeps contrasting with the other reporting. But at the end of the day, Cashman's not saying anything. And he's the guy I believe most. I believe him over Curry, over Joe, all these people. I believe him over all of them. Right? Because he's the guy that knows more than these guys. He's the guy that's on the inside. He's the direct tie to Hal. None of these other guys are direct ties to Hal. None of them. As much as you want to believe the hot stove, Joe Sherman, blah, blah, none of these guys work for the Yankees. None of them. Right? Cashman never leaks anything, ever. And why would he? He would lose a lot of leverage, especially Scott Boras. Scott Boras would eat you alive. That's why he took advantage of the Blue Jays, right? The Blue Jays were eager after losing the World Series to get a pitcher here. And he got 7 years, $210 million for Dylan Cease. 7 years, $210 freaking million. Right? So the way the deferred contract works with regards to Otani, it's 70 million a year, but it's going to be spread out over 20 years, and the 35 million of it is going to be uh, directly linked towards the salary cap itself for 20 years. But the Dodgers are going to pay out 68 million a year for the 10 years after Otani's contract is up. But it's still going to count 35 towards the payroll. 35 million for 20 consecutive years. That's how Otani's contract works. But they have the ability to do that type of money. The CBA allows it, right? It's a loophole that teams that are owned by private. And then there's two teams that are owned by giant corporations, the Dodgers and the Blue Jays. Rogers Communications, the Blue Jays, Guggenheim Group with the Dodgers. So they have the ability to do that stuff, right? No. But in the meantime, Yankees have been adding some pitchers too that could serve as arms in the bullpen. Yeah, that's the way it is. And we'll see if they destroy deferred contracts. I mean, that's an advantage that the Dodgers have, right? That's pretty much what the Dodgers have. The longer Tucker is out in the market, well, I said the longer Bellinger's out there, the less likely he signs with the Yankees. The longer Tucker's out there, the more likely he signs with the Yankees. So Steinbrenner's not going to sell. No. Yeah, because the Dodgers are taking advantage. They're the number one beneficiary of deferred contracts. When you're owned by private equity, you can pawn off debt for decades after that and not feel the effects of it. See, that's why they continue to sign more guys and defer the money because they can. Right? Yeah. Yeah. CB. They probably do have a better shot at Tucker than Bellinger. And again, this is Cashman waiting things out, which he does a lot, and letting things fall into place. And let's just say they got Amai and Okamoto and Tucker. When people were complaining for 3 months that he was doing nothing, sleeping at the wheel, but he gets all three of them. Right? There's way too many folks saying he's asleep at the wheel doing nothing and so on and so forth. They've been active. Just because you're not making deals doesn't mean they're not active. Enjoy that break, CW. And I won't be down that long either. I got to go get some lunch and get back to work myself. I got some training I got to do. But you enjoy that lunch, CWE. Make sure you eat something good, bro. JXV, thank you again for the super chat. I always appreciate you guys. Nico Horner, extend him in. Well, so Nico Horner is now available from the Cubs. Like, he's officially available. And he's a right-handed bat that I profiled recently. He hits almost 370 versus lefties. So he's a guy, and he could play, I think, second base and third base. So he's a guy that could be an option for the Yankees. So, well, that's it. Like, let's just say you got Horner and you got Okamoto. Like, as much as I like Brendan Donovan, I'd be fine with Horner and Okamoto. And Amai. Like, I think Amai's priority number one. Right? That's one reason they're not trading for starting pitchers. Why would you trade half the farm for these guys who only have a year or two left in their contracts when you can just wait out Amai, and if you get him for cash and a posting fee, then you don't have to give any prospects, and he serves the Yankees rotation better than those other guys would. Why would you not? Okay, we don't. The Donovan situation is still fluid, and we don't know. Like, the way negotiations are, like, I'm just speaking as somebody who has a degree in economics, and like, when it comes to negotiations, the GMs come in in the clouds, the agents come in through the moon. They're going to have to meet somewhere in between as the compromise point, right? The asking prices are always high, the offers are always low. That's why Cashman said they didn't really like our offers right now, because the asking prices, as we know, are crazy high. So why would a GM come way the hell up there when they don't have to? When they know they're going to have to meet in between, right? Yeah, Murakami does have 10 days to sign. Yes, he does. Why are you not confident the Yankees will get a Japanese player, Jonathan? I'm not ruling any Japanese player out. I'm just not ruling anybody out. Eagle. Yeah, Murakami, I mean, he's got, his offensive stuff doesn't translate the way a contact hitter's offensive stuff would translate to the majors. But you never know. He's got big, power potential, and teams are attracted to that, right? Weaver is a free agent. Yes, he is. And Okamoto's a contact guy. Dunham's a contact guy. Nico Horner's a contact guy, right? And Amai's got a different kind of intangibles here that the Yankees are attracted to as well. I like the fact that the Yankees are quiet. I like the fact that he came back 2 days ago and reinforced again that he wants to beat the Dodgers and doesn't want to go to a team with an existing star, which eliminates a lot of teams, an existing Japanese star. Eliminates a lot of teams. So I think we have the best shot at MI too. But again, I'll believe it when I see it. It's easier said than done. That's why I'm just trying to stay quiet about it. If we hear any updates, I'll get you in on it. Okay? So it is part of the strategy of social media. But again, if you think of the people who are reporting this stuff, like Curry and some of these other folks, they're not into the business of over-promising and under-delivering. Some of these other folks are. The Japanese media never does that, over-promises and under-delivers. And Cashman never leaks. So the frustrating part is that we don't know dick, right? But that's exactly the way Brian Cashman wants it, which is going to lead to a lot of speculation, of course, right? Social media, I don't know. I mean, I'll look at it on occasion, but I don't base everything off social media. I go beyond social media. But again, it's the same. It's a lot of the stuff is similar right now. Social media, Twitter, or a lot of people go on Twitter or X, right? I'm like, I'll pull it up right now and just see if there's anything that pops up, right, on social media. First thing I see when it comes to baseball, let's have a look here. The Blue Jays are willing to give Kyle Tucker $400 million per Alden Gonzalez. I don't know who that is. Do I think Dominguez is 100% gone? I think it's 50-50 right now, but I'm leaning towards gone. If they can get Mason Miller, he's gone. They can get Adrian, what's his name? Jeremiah Estrada, the other reliever from San Diego, he's gone. They get, well, I don't think they would need him to get Brendan Donovan. They could probably get Donovan without him. They could probably get Horner without him. Well, we'll see. Yeah. Yeah, I'd be surprised if Mason Miller gets moved too. Estrada's the other guy I'd be looking at. Mason Miller would cost a haul, right? And again, that could be. I know they're fielding calls on him, but just like you'd have to be blown away just to consider moving him, right? They had to blow the A's away to get the A's to freaking bite on Mason Miller, which they did. Okay, but like if you can get Estrada, yeah, man, I'd be pretty pumped up about that. Be pretty pumped up, man. I don't think Tatis is going to get moved. I'm not really buying, the Tatis. I still think, like they lost was it Suarez yesterday, the closer to the Braves. I think they're probably going to lose Estrada too, and we'll see if they move on from anybody else. I know they're shopping Jay Cronenworth, their other infielder, so. Yeah, I know they're engaged in talks with, and like Scott Boras acknowledged it, Brian Cashman acknowledged it too. So those are the guys that I tend to listen to as it pertains to the negotiations between Cashman and Scott Boras. I want to listen to those two guys. Scott Boras obviously is going to throw up a lot of craziness. We know this already. Cashman's not going to leak, so there's going to be boatloads of speculation. I mean, Scott Boras is going to ask for the world. Cashman's going to offer a continent, and they're going to have to meet somewhere in between, right? And that's just the way that it is. I mean, Tatis is a beast, but like, if you look at his contract, that's a lot of money, man. 10 years left on his deal, a lot of money. To get Gore and C.J. Abrams, a lot. A lot. Inges, one of the pitching prospects, probably a major league pitcher, either Hill or Warren, something like that. Well, the problem with the Japanese players, like, we don't know. It's like when you go to Costco and you buy a big ass flat screen, you know the price already, $7.99, whatever the price is. There's no negotiating. You can't come be like, I'll give you $600. They're gonna be like, eat a dick, okay? That's the price. Like, there's nothing like that when it comes to this type of stuff. Even Japanese players, right? Here's the posting fee. If we win the bid, you know the posting fee. It's gonna be based on the contract that you give the player, right? That we know. But they're blind bids. Nobody knows what the other team is bidding for these players. So, and that's one of the problems. That's what happened with Yamamoto too. But he made it clear that he always wanted to go to Dodgers anyway. He played teams off each other. He used the Mets and the Yankees to drive up the price for the Dodgers. But he went where he wanted to go. I think Murakami goes on the West Coast. But he's not going to get like it. We haven't had a Japanese offensive player get a deal as big as a Japanese pitcher. The pitchers are the ones getting the big money. We haven't had. What did they get Hideki Matsui for 4 years, $52 million, something like that? Beyond that, you got Seiya Suzuki from the Cubs. I think got $80 million. That Masataka Yoshida from the Red Sox got $90 million. I don't know if there's a Japanese player that's got $100 million. That's an offensive player. I'm not sure. I wouldn't be surprised if Framber Valdez side with the Orioles either. Miss anything? Well, no news right now, but the Yankees are kind of showing a willingness to be open to no longer saying Volpe's our guy. There's an article that I had up here. I'm going to attach it down below. So once we're done, you feel free to read it and you let me know what your thoughts are. Just give me some, put them in the comments. I'll be more than happy to respond to it. All right. There's also a lot of fights at Dodger Stadium too. A lot of fights over there with them and the Padres fans, them and the Giants fans, or whatever it is. I don't know. I don't know why they fight so much over there, the fans. Yeah, the Matsui contract was the big one. And then we got Masahiro Tanaka. He got 7 years, maybe $155 million, which is like 22 per year, something like that. All right. Yeah, Yankees fans. Look, this. There are D-bag Yankee fans, but we don't go around and troll. At least as far as I know, at least in Yankee content creators, go around and troll other content creators and other fan bases and so on and so forth. We get trolled mercilessly. 155. Okay, thank you. And then the posting fee beyond that. Yeah. The problem right now is that the asking prices are really high. It's making it difficult to get deals. And the Yankees have offers out to free agent players, but they're clearly not as close as the asking prices. And we don't know which free agent players they made offers to. And we don't know what the hell the offers are. So, Judge, Grisham, Jones, Jason. Well, that's what they'll likely do, Duran, but I don't think they're going to keep Jones and Dominguez. I doubt they'll do both. And we'll see. We'll see who they wind up going with. Who can extract more value in a trade, and what can you get for them? Because if one of those guys get moves, I think it's going to be for pitching. Right? He should get a shot in the majors, Spencer Jones. Right? So I'd rather keep him as well, Susan. 51 likes. We got 100 plus people in here. Smack that thumbs up if you don't mind, gang. Let's try to get 100 likes if we don't mind. I greatly appreciate it. Be on for a couple more minutes, and then I'm going to wrap up and do some. I got some work to do. I'm not sure Weaver's going to come back, to be honest with you. I think they're going to pivot to another. They've added 2 pitchers in the last couple of days who can be options for the bullpen, too. They picked up 2 arms from the Rule 5 draft, One of them is a pretty big arm in the major league. And with the way it goes in the Rule 5 draft, if you pick somebody in the first round, the Yankees haven't picked in Rule 5 draft in 15 years. So they picked an arm in the first round. And he has to make the major league roster for opening day. If he doesn't, then the Yankees have to offer him back to the team, which is the Cardinals, for $50,000. The Cardinals can either buy it back for $50,000, and if they don't, then the Yankees can outright him to the minors. So he'll get him off the board. Right now, he's on the 26-man roster. So, yeah. We're just gonna wait and see who strikes next. Most of the big fish are still on the market, and that's what agents do. They wait for teams to show cracks, wait for GMs to show some type of desperation, then they pounce, right? Yeah, 100 mile. Yeah, and he's got 98 to 100. And the guy they brought in yesterday, he's got a lot of movement on his pitches too. So it looks like they brought in some strikeout guys in the last couple of days. And maybe that's because the asking prices are so high in trades for relief pitching, just like they are in free agency. Right? Robert Suarez got $15 million a year yesterday from the Braves, and he's not even going to be their freaking closer. He's going to be their setup guy. Devin Williams, $51 million from the Mets. What's crazy is the Mets gave $51 million to the guy that gave up the home run to the guy they didn't give an offer to, Pete Alonso. They didn't even give an offer. He's their franchise player, and they gave him a freaking offer. Yet they signed him for $51 million. And he's the reason why, according to what we're hearing from Edwin Diaz himself, he's the reason why that Edwin Diaz kind of left. Apparently, according to him, the Mets didn't give up a head, and they don't have to, but they didn't give him a courtesy or a heads up that they were going to sign Devin Williams. And that made him have one foot out the door to leave. Now, that's what Edwin Diaz said himself. And they don't really know. They're not obligated to tell him, right? But I understand. Like the Yankees, they give Judge. They run things by Judge. They run things by Cole. They give the courtesy. The Mets clearly do not. Okay? Petruzzi, what's up, man? No, I'm not worried about the Yankees. They've made moves, just not the big flashy ones. The prices are too high. Yeah, the Mets fans were trolling the Yankee fans when we got Williams and they got Soto. And now they got Williams and yeah, exactly, lost. And they didn't go to the playoffs with Juan Soto. We got trolled mercilessly on this channel. The Yankees were going to be a fourth-place team. The Mets were going to rule New York. They were going to be the Big Brothers. They were going to go to the playoffs. We won World Series. None of these things happened. That's why it doesn't make any sense to troll people like that. For what? Well, exactly, Jacob. None of our targets have come off the board. So, in essence, the Yankees have not lost anything this offseason. The Mets have lost quite a bit. Right? Yeah, and I agree. I don't think they treated Alonso the right way. But Alonso also had the opportunity, I believe it was 2 years ago, to sign like a 7-year, $150 million deal, which he didn't do. So he had an opportunity as well. But then when they brought Juan Soto, it looks like he's making it difficult for them to spend anywhere else. Or spend aggressively anywhere else, I should say. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what Boris is going to do. Because he doesn't represent he doesn't represent Tucker. He represents Bellinger. Real Bill, there he is. Salute to you, my man. How are you, my friend? The prices will eventually drop. Exactly. We have to wait. And you're right. We're not the only team waiting. A lot of teams are waiting because the price is so freaking high. So, yeah, Diaz, Pete Alonso grew up through the farm. He was drafted and developed by the Mets. Diaz came to them as a free agent from Seattle. Actually, in a trade, I think it was. But it is what it is, right? Now they lost him and Nimmo, and they lost Diaz. How they're going to replace them? We'll see. That still remains to be seen, right? Patience does have a baseball virtue. Yes, it does. I preach it here all the time. And let's not panic over and have emotional overreactions on bad information. like so many other people do, right? I don't think we screwed ourselves with Grisham. Grisham was going to be fine. And who was going to be a better option than Grisham in center field? Is my question. And he's, he doesn't tie up the Yankees for a bunch of years like Bellinger would, like some of these other players would. He's only here for a year. Right? Jones will get an opportunity. To me, Jones will be a good, idea to have in left field, because generally your natural center fielders tend to pivot well to the corner outfield spots, right? More than anybody else. But left field is a tougher beast to navigate than right field is when it comes to the Yankees. Jason Dominguez struggled hard. He had a hard time with reads and getting to the ball, and he's not a good defensive outfielder, especially in the corner spots. And one of the things I talked about in the beginning of the year is it would be best to have him in center field, because he would need protection on both sides of the outfield. That's one thing I mentioned repeatedly. Jones wouldn't need that protection because he's good in his own right. He would be making other outfielders better. So to answer your question, yeah, Jonathan, the Yankees do need a good left fielder, 100%, man. Jung-Hoo Lee got 113 from the Giants, right? See, I don't know if he's Korean or Japanese. He might be Korean, Jung-Hoo Lee, if I remember correctly, John. I think he's the only Asian bat that got over 100 million. I think. Yeah, it's the years holding up Bellinger. Exactly. Nosebleed. He's Korean. Okay, thank you, John. Kind of had a feeling it was. Yeah, man. I think Lombard will be ready for 2027. I also think he has the ability to move to third base once Ryan McMahon is no longer here. He's got good range. He's got probably the better defensive range of any infielder that the Yankees have drafted recently. Notable signings: Dylan Cease to the Blue Jays, 7 years, $210. Pete Alonso to the Orioles, 5 years, $155. Kyle Schwarber back to the Phillies, 5 years, $150. Robert Suarez yesterday to the Braves, 3 years, $45. Devin Williams, 3 years, $51 to the Mets. Those so far have been the more notable signings. Some of the, other low-key ones like Gregory Soto to the Pirates, 1 year, $7.75 million. Kyle Finnegan back to the Tigers. I think it was 2 years, $18 or $19 million. Those are the more notable signings in free agency so far. So we haven't had many free agents come off the board yet of notable name. There's still, the majority of them are still available. Yep. Housing Cashman, yes. Get rid of what clown, Joseph? What clown are you talking about? Market, yeah, Bregman's market not really. He's, he now apparently, according to reports, regrets leaving Boston or turning down, opting out or whatever it was, 2 years, $80 million, because his market's not materializing to the point where he's going to make a lot more than that. And the assumption was that he was going to. Coach Carl, there he is. Best high school distance coach right there in the country. Yeah, I don't know why. I mean, that's like Diaz said himself. He was upset that the Mets didn't tell him, but they weren't obligated to tell him. I like the fact that the Yankees give players the courtesy. I would imagine if they somehow were able to get Stroud or Mason Miller, that they would call David Bednar first and let him know, look, we have an opportunity to bring in Mason Miller. Would you be willing to set up? Suarez yesterday agreed to set up for, what's his name? Raciel Iglesias, who's going to be closer for the Braves. Because he went back to the Braves. Suarez, he also was the National League saves leader for the last couple of years. So I think he's going to the Braves to be a setup guy. But that was agreed upon ahead of time, right? At the very least, I mean, the communications, it's not required, But I understand where it is helpful, right? No doubt about that. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, John. I mean, it's Sonny Gray and Devin. Yeah, Destiny Yankees fan, go right ahead, man. Go right ahead. You're welcome, paranormal. That's pretty much. I mean, couple of trades like Marcus Simeon for Brennan Nimmo, Rangers, Mets. I mean, that was the most notable trade so far. Nothing beyond that right now. Winter meetings was a lot of dialogue and a lot of talks, but not a lot of deals. So a couple of big fish came off the board in winter meetings, but not more. So it's going to be busy January and February. We have 2 months left in the offseason. And keep in mind, just because it doesn't happen in the winter meetings doesn't mean the offseason's over. No. Yeah, Edwin Diaz came here in a trade from the Mariners, and then he signed a contract with the Mets, a 5-year deal, and then he opted out of the last 2 years, whatever it was. So once once you've opted out, why should they have to tell you, right? You opted out, so you know what I mean? Yeah, well, exactly, well, Stephen, exactly. And again, like there was a lot of drama going on, that we're hearing more about the drama in the Mets clubhouse between Lindor and Jeff McNeil. Lindor and Juan Soto is like a lot of. I'm wondering if Soto's like, oh man, what do I get myself into here? I know I got my money, I got my bag, but like, what did I get myself into? Who knows if he's thinking that, but could be. No. Trent Grisham cannot be traded until June 15th, even if he agrees on it. There's a date requirement for players that accept the QO. It's June 15th, so they can't trade him until then, even if he agrees to a trade. But if he's playing well, why would the Yankees want to trade him? Is the question, and we'll see if he's playing well or not. Yeah, exactly. Bednar's part of the team, and he's like They traded for him to be the closer. He's our closer, right? And I understand too. If you give Bednar the courtesy and say, "Hey, look, we can get Mason Miller here. Would you be willing to set up for Mason Miller? Like whatever it might be." I'm sure he'd be understanding of that because it's Mason Miller, right? Not saying that's going to happen, but if that happened, like, you know, but the fact that the Yankees give the players the courtesies, I like that. But again, like, I like Bednar. I'm glad, that Edwin Diaz wasn't going to come here to be a closer. I don't want to listen to that damn trumpet music all the time. No. Yes, I'm sure about the player agrees, Duran. You cannot trade a player with a QO until June 15th of the following year. That's a major league rule. According to CBA's ratified it, and Major League Baseball's ratified it. I don't know, Lindor. I'm not sure. Lindor thought he was going to be the guy, right? The man there. And then they brought in Soto, and that was already obvious that Lindor wasn't going to be the man, right? But like I don't know. I mean, I agree. Yes, Soto got the bag, and then other people's bag, and other people's bag too. And he's getting perks that no one else is getting, right? Entourage this and suites this and blah blah blah. People are angry that he didn't get him from the Yankees. Well, guess what? Aaron Judge didn't get private suite. Derek Jeter never got a private suite for free. But that was Steve Cohen's decision to give him all that stuff to get him there. So, I really don't know, but I can understand, Lindor not being happy, but I get it. And Lindor's a good player in himself, in his own right. But beefing with Jeff McNeil, I don't know what the heck that was about. I'm not sure. The private seat, yeah, he'd probably pissed a lot of players off. I would agree, Susan. Yeah. We don't know that, Joseph. Your assumption is there's no major moves coming. That's why I don't listen to beat writers and content creators that just rely on Twitter and talking points for everything. Yeah. I've talked about salary floor for a long time, Jane. Salary floor. I mean, got a mandate the teams like the Pirates and the Marlins who get a lot of revenue sharing and don't spend on their teams, they've got to be able to spend on their damn teams. They've got to be required to spend, but they're not required right now. Which that's got to change in the next CBA. It really does. That I see a more likely salary floor than I do a salary cap. Right? I think the union would never go for a salary cap. Never. There's just a lot of active dialogue right now, John. Just the Yankees are showing the willingness now to potentially move on from Anthony Volpe. There was an article I went over in the beginning of this that I'm going to attach down below so you can read it, and you'll see what I'm talking about. Nico Hoerner is a guy, and again, he hits. He's a right-handed bat, and the Yankees are looking at 2 right-handed bats. He hits almost 370. I think it's 367 or 368 versus lefties. 367 versus lefties. That's exactly the type of right-handed bat that we need. A guy that hits lefties that well. Like, yeah. And I don't know how many. Does he have 1 year left on his contract? Let me pull up Nico Hoerner's contract here. Okay. Nico Hoerner, and he's still arbitration, if I remember correctly. Nico Hoerner contract. Here we go. Yeah, this is his last year. Yeah, he'll be a free agent after 2026. He's scheduled to make $12 million this year. So he signed a 3-year, $35 million contract. This is the 3rd year. So he bought, and basically his last 3 years of arbitration were bought out. This is last year, Hoerner. There's dialogue between the Yankees and Rosario, and again, there's a lot of moving parts. But like Ahmed Rosario, they've shown mutual interest in reuniting. So my guess is, unless he gets blown away by some other team, he'll be back. Right? He'll be back, but we'll see. The Yankees still need to address the bullpen too. But a lot of stuff is, it looks like it's reliant upon Imai and Okamoto deciding whether they want to come to the Yankees or not. Because then that changes the Yankees landscape. If Imai doesn't happen, then they'll be more aggressive in bringing a starter from somewhere else in majors, right? If Okamoto is not an option, my guess is they'll be more aggressive in a Brendan Donovan trade or Nico Hoerner trade or one of these other things. So Wells is having medical issue. Who Wells? Austin Wells? Reed Detmers is another guy. He's a trade option. I profiled him too. He's got 3 years left on his deal. He's a guy I would move Dominguez for. He's a good lefty. Yep. That's not Brian Cashman's fault for Anthony Volpe getting hurt, and that's not his fault. Loss of feeling his fingers. As far as I know right now, he's healthy. Haven't heard anything about Wells. But there's a reason why, there's concern with Pete Fairbanks, because he has a nerve issue in his hand that makes it harder for him to grip the ball in the cold weather. It's another reason why the Yankees have not signed Pete Fairbanks, even though they're interested in him. But I understand the concern there too. No, I get it. But this is where we're at, folks. Right? And is he like Mitch Keller? He's an option too, but I would wait for Imai first, because if you're going to move Mitch Keller, it's going to cost you a pretty penny to get him. Yep. Well, it says damage to the artery in his left index finger. Interesting. I did not know that. I'll look into it though, Susan. I will look into it. But generally, a lot of the impact and catching the ball, it's left hand, that's his catching hand. Impact's going to affect your nerves, right? In martial arts myself, we do a lot of impact stuff. Striking. Strike the bicep with a block, right? Somebody throws a punch, you throw a block, intercept right in their bicep a bunch of times. Believe me, they're going to lose feeling in their arm pretty quickly. You get them in the right spot at the same time, and the same over and over again. Oh, yeah. Paranormal. What's going on, paranormal? I would Dominguez. Look, they're shopping Dominguez. They're also shopping JC Escara um, to try to get relief pitching in return. Well, so and we'll see. I mean, maybe they'll be packaged together in a trade with the Padres. The Padres need a catcher. Escar is there. He's got 4 or 5 years of control. They need an outfielder who hits lefty. Dominguez is there. Maybe you can send them both to the Padres, get him out of the American League for Jeremiah Estrada. He's got a bunch of years of control left too. Right? Michael Garcia from the Reds. Yeah, the Royals. Good for the Royals. I mean, they're extending some of their players, and Michael Garcia is a good one. The young building block there to go along with Bobby Witt Jr. and some of these other guys. So, if I could add Jeremiah Estrada from the Padres, I would add him. If I could add Reed Detmers from the Angels, I would add him. There's a couple other options in free agency that might be Brad Keller from the Cubs, a big velocity guy. Mm-hmm. Well, I talked about I shared an article, and I'm going to attach it down below. That they're saying, they leave open a possibility for a shortstop competition now. They already just weren't. They didn't say flat out that Volpe's our guy moving forward. They didn't say that at all, Cashman or Boone. So, and I found it interesting and maybe revealing for certain people, which is why I will attach the article down below as soon as we're done here. And I'll wrap this up. We have 3 minutes left, and it'll be an hour. I'll wrap up in 3 minutes. So I think they're going to get another outfielder. I think they're going to get a 2 righty bats. Could be 1 infielder, 1 outfielder. Still a lot of guys out there. Austin Hayes, right-handed outfielder. You've got Brenton Davis, who has a guy profiled from the Rockies as an option too. Right-handed outfielder. Mentioned a bunch of guys. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, so we'll see what, if Volpe can't come back and be the guy that they need him to be, then my guess is he won't be back, right? I'll always keep you a little big man. Always, hope you always. And I'm the more, I'll leave you with this, the more Cody Bellinger goes without signing, the less I see him coming back to. I don't know if Seager's possible, but I did. Not at some of the ridiculous asking prices. People are saying you've got to send them Jones and Lombard, or come on, and eat all of his contract. Come on, let's get real. Yeah. I mean, teams are reaching out to the Rangers about Corey Seager, but beyond that, I don't know how much traction they'll get on it. But there's a very real possibility, like I said, they're kind of quietly acknowledging that Volpe might not be the guy anymore. It takes them a lot to do that. They're very loyal to their players. And they're never going to throw their players under the bus either, despite what a lot of people would like them to do. It's not going to happen. They've never done that. 7 years I agree, it's too much on Bellinger. But if you get a team desperate enough to give it to them, Scott Boras, no matter who it is. Right? Bellinger, oh my God, I've always wanted to play for the Reds. Always wanted to play for the Brewers. Whoever gives them the money. I was hoping because I want to go to Green Bay Packers games. Okay, all right. Let me say. Right? It's not going to be a down tear, Joseph. Yankees don't tear down. It's not opinions. I'm dealing in facts, Joseph. I'm dealing in facts. Yankees don't tear down the team. Lombard, yeah, I think he's going to be the future. Maybe shortstop in 2027, and then he might move to third base in 2028. We'll see. We don't know. And we'll see. Volpe, yeah. Well, so when they opened up Volpe's shoulder, the MRI, the surgery was a lot more intensive than the MRI showed. So there was more damage than the MRI revealed. And keep that in mind, because the Yankees went based on a lot of his MRIs, and they didn't show significant damage. So Yankees have been getting a lot of heat for playing him. The The surgery itself showed more damage than the MRI showed. So that's what the Yankees had to go on, the MRI. That's just the way that it is, unfortunately. So look, if Cody gets money from the Mets, go right ahead and take it, man. Go right ahead. Right? Yeah. Yeah, they're gonna keep McMahon at least for 2 more years. He stabilized the infield defense, Ryan McMahon. He has. But with that, I want to thank you all for coming on. I really appreciate you. Well, in theory, Jennifer, I agree. Boris needs to come down to 6, but he's always gonna, like I said, agents start at the moon, GMs come in the clouds, and they're gonna have to meet somewhere in between. That's basic negotiations, right? Especially like, and I used the Costco as an analogy earlier. You go to Costco, you buy a flat screen. The price is the price. There's no negotiating on the price, right? That's where it differs from baseball, Major League contracts. There is no set price. It's their asking price, your offer price, and how the hell do you negotiate the terms in between that? That's the way that it is, right? Graham, what's going on, man? How you doing, my man? So, but I agree, Jennifer. Like the sentiment is Boris needs to come down, and the sentiment for some is Cashman needs to go up. But that's just the way that it is, right? But we'll see what the Yankees do. We'll see what the Mets do. At the end of the day, the Yankees have holes they need to address. They will address them, but again, they don't need to address them right now. They're not going to be reporting until February, so they'll play this out. They're working with more intel than we are. So, but at least the Japanese players, they have a timeline. Like Murakami in 10 days, 22nd. Imai, January 2nd. Okamoto, January 4th. That's when their posting windows close. And if they're not signed or agreed to with the major league team by then they go back to Japan for the year. That's the way that it works. That's the rule. Nothing we can do to change it. That's the MPB rule as it pertains to MLB. Right? Yeah. No doubt about it. No doubt. And Boris wants the Yankees to be involved in a lot of his players because it drives up the price. He knows that too. It always drives up the price. So, and again, Cashman's also not going to come in flat out and say, yeah, we're not in on them. We don't want them now. Way ahead of time because it's going to hurt his negotiating position with other Boris clients. So, Cashman knows how to play this game the way Boris does. He does. And he's, again, Imai, Okamoto, Bellinger, they're all represented by Scott Boris. And the Yankees are in on all 3. So that's a lot of Boris client stuff. So I can't, Bill, I can't read The Athletic. You need a membership to read it. What did he say about the interview with Cashman and Boone at the winter meetings? I would guess some of that too. Cashman is waiting on Boris, but he's also waiting for the rest of the market to unfold too. We just don't know what the market is. We have a kind of basic idea, but beyond that, we don't know. Kissing Boris behind. But yeah. Well, that's what I'm saying, Susan, right? If you want to get paid and you don't really care about where you go to Scott Boris. He's the great white shark of baseball agents. Right? Send me an email, Robo. Please do. Please do. I'm really looking forward to seeing it. Thank you. And I hope you're doing well, brother. Boris Wade self. Yeah, Boris has done some of his other players dirty too. So he got fired by Jordan Montgomery. So I wouldn't be surprised if someone else fires him too. But he's already got his 2 big contracts so far. Pete Alonso, Boris client. Dylan Cease, Boris client. He's gotten these guys bagged. He's gotten in their bag. And these other guys that he still represents that are also going to get paid. So, yeah, send them over, Beagle. Send them over. But I'm going to get back to work again. I want to thank you all for coming on. That's the latest. Let me just check one last time and see if there's anything to report with the Yankees before we bounce. No, it's just people saying we can't waste another prime year judge, and blah, blah, blah. No. Yeah. No, nothing. Nothing. So stay tuned, gang. I will keep you in the loop on everything. Appreciate all of you. You're the best. Peace and love. You are the best family out there. Love you guys. Have a great day. See y'all later.